Well, we're back again for another one of these streams for going over the latest. Mainly again, it's fucking Marvel. We cannot get out of the Marvel news. You know, we're done with main Marvel, of course, being Disney, and then we've got stuff to do with Sony's Marvel stuff. So again, just like most of these past weeks, it's all been Marvel. That's the majority of what people have been talking about, or just what the sort of news cycle has been. It's just Marvel, Marvel, fucking non-stop Marvel, and mainly it's never anything good. That's really where Marvel's at the moment. The Marvels is not looking too good. I'm starting to realize how right I was. I'm Nostradamus here, predicting how badly this film's gonna do. And it looks like my projections or predictions were actually a lot higher than what this film is expected to finish on by the time. It may be the one Marvel film that gets a very quick release on Disney Plus, because I don't imagine they'll be keeping it in theaters much longer, because there's no point whatsoever. So that's kind of some of the stuff we're going to talk about. We'll go into some of the, because there was an article, an interview with Nia DaCosta. There's some stuff on there that I think is probably worth talking about. So it's just stuff like that, really. You've got Taika Waititi saying he's going to piss off Star Wars fans with his Star Wars film that probably is never going to see the light of day, because that's kind of how it's been for most of these projects. They get, we're working with this person. We're not going to say anything, but we know it's not happening anymore. So that's probably going to be one of those. And then we did have something that, again, it's still hard to, it's not confirmed. Of course, Pedro Pascal being cast as Reed Richards. I don't know if that's going to turn out that way. It doesn't, there's no confirmation. Even though when this news came out, this whatever is confirmed, and there's no confirmation whatsoever. It's more just rumor. I even seen that there could be confusion that he was in fact going to be cast as a villain. So I don't really know what's happening about that. But I suppose we'll talk about it a little bit at some point. And that's kind of, other than that, there's just a whole load of cope going on over this film cratering at the box office. The Marvel's just done. Pretty much done. It's over. Everybody's getting blamed for it. So that's kind of what stage we're at with that. Is you've just got people on Twitter playing the blame game. Or just going, the majority of people that didn't like this, they just don't like women. It's like, it's just a really, really shit film. A lot of it's funny because it's like, yeah, they're going to be done talking about this in a week. It will completely leave any trace in their brain that it was a film that even existed. Because that's the kind of people you're dealing with. It's just, they defend it for a couple of weeks. And then they just forget it exists, never watch it again, no matter how great they say it is. We know they're not going to watch it again, because that is not the kind of film that it is. It's not something that you're going to watch on repeat. It's, unless you're fucking mentally deluded. That's the only way that's happening. So we'll probably go into some of that as well, because there's been a few tweets that I think is probably worth bringing up. But yeah, we're probably better off jumping into the Marvel stuff early on. Let me just try and find the article here. So yeah, we had this first. That it's got stuff to do with the Hunger Games. I'm not really interested in talking about the Hunger Games at all. I didn't mind the Hunger Games when it first started. I was like, yeah, it's all right. Then I seen Battle Royale, the Japanese film. I'm like, oh yeah, that's 1,000 times fucking better. They've basically just ripped that off it within the Hunger Games. I mean, I think it must have been like last year I watched. No, it must have been longer than that. 2 years ago, maybe, where I seen the Battle Royale film. Some nice violence, loads and loads of bullets. It's definitely, it's up there for just a great Japanese film. Or at least I'm pretty sure it's Japanese. So that's essentially what Hunger Games is. So kind of once you've seen Battle Royale, it's like, why am I going to watch Hunger Games? But I'm pretty sure I probably watched all of them except maybe the last two. I can't really remember now. But yeah, I've got no interest whatsoever in Hunger Games, so probably not going to spend time on it. But yeah, part of this article is the Marvels collapses with historic 79% drop. The odds were ever in favour of the Hunger Games, so they go into that. I don't know why they started off with that, but okay. With the glut of new offerings, ticket sales for Disney's superhero sequel, The Marvels, created by 79% to land another ignominious record, the biggest second weekend drop by far in the history of Marvel Cinematic Universe. Before this weekend, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania withstood the largest decline of the franchise with 69%. So even based on that, it's terrible. If you actually want to have a look at, these records that have been smashed by the Marvels, and not in a good way, they seem to, Forbes has done us a favor of listing them all. That the Marvels has the lowest MCU domestic opening ever with 46 million. The Marvels has the lowest MCU global opening ever, 110 million. The Marvels has the largest week 2 drop-off of any superhero movie ever. Now that's an achievement. That is an achievement. I think Disney should make up a plaque for that, because that's definitely an achievement there. The largest week 2 drop off of any superhero movie ever. Now that's something you put on your wall. The Marvels is the third lowest scored MCU movie in series history. On Rotten Tomatoes, 62%. The Marvels got a rare B cinema score, tying it with Eternals and Quantumania, the lowest in MCU history. The Marvels is expected... So this is where it gets interesting. This is because my predictions for what this film was going to do, I doubted it would reach the 300 million mark. I thought that would be its limit. It seems I've over-projected that, because as it says here, the Marvels is expected to end its theatrical run with 210 million to 240 million at the global box office, under its 270 million budget, and that would be, you guessed it, the lowest total for an MCU movie ever. I mean, who could have seen this coming? But it's not even going to be able to make its... I mean, 270 is probably... They probably spent more than that on the production budget. Based on... How many reshoots did they do? Maybe 3 at the very least. So it's probably way over 270. 270 anyway, but even if we're to take that number sort of as face value, so it's not even able to make its money back, just on the budget of the production. So this, a total disaster. They're still not going to understand why it is. As we've seen in the Inside Marvel Studios, the article that was out a few weeks ago, they don't know what the fucking problem is. They've got no idea, no clue, and that's why it's just going to continue to crater. The only films that are going to do decently is your Deadpool 3s, and you maybe Blade. I'm not really sure on that one, and that's really it. That's really, really all they've got. Again, it's just like they're not going to take this and go, oh, right, so this is what the problem is. We put these people in charge that didn't have a fucking clue what they were doing. We would reshoot it to hell and back. We would pay no attention to the actual writing of it. We wouldn't spend time on the writing of it. We would just write a shitty script and then go, right, let's make it. And then go, oh, there's problems here, let's reshoot that. Let's edit this out so then that doesn't make any fucking sense. Even though if we had that in anyway, it wouldn't make any sense. So they're just not going to come to terms with what the problem is. They just go, oh, well, Kang's the problem. So we need to get Doctor Doom. That will sort our stuff out. How's it going, Biffa? But yeah, they're not gonna they're still not going to realize what it is. I mean, the thing with this one, it's just like you're at a point when there's no interest. The interest is just disappearing so quickly. The idea that you're going to go, well, let's do Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau and Ms. Marvel. It's like, yeah, nobody knows who the majority of those are. You know, people know Captain Marvel because of the film. The other two characters, nobody knows who they are. You know, if this came out back in when Guardians came out, it's like, yeah, it'd probably do well. Because that's when Marvel could afford to branch out into characters that nobody had ever heard of. Because people thought, oh, they've put out some good films, let's go and check that out. Whereas now that's just gone. They don't have the ability to do that. So basically every film they now put out has to be recognizable characters that just the general public knows who they are. That's really their only way there. But again, that's not going to matter because it's like, it's still going to be shit. Just, they can't figure out what the problem is. The only time we'll ever get another good Marvel movie is if they do it by accident. They're not going to do it on purpose. They don't have that ability. So that's kind of where the Marvels is at, just breaking records everywhere for being an absolute disaster. It's been quite funny to watch. I mean, you've had a lot of a lot of coping online because I've just been liking things, so I can go right. I can bring that up. But it's all this stuff is just really fucking funny to watch. But you just have like, I'm pretty convinced some of these are just bot accounts. I imagine the majority of them are bot accounts, because there's no way a real person thinks The Marvels is a good film. But you've just got things like this. I will never forgive you for letting this movie fail. Fail like this. It's one of the nastiest things I've ever seen. So everybody's nasty because they never went to see The Marvels. Because they didn't have any interest. That's just being nasty, that is. So you've got comments like that, they're not handling it well. And some of these people just come across like, I don't know, like they haven't seen it or something. You know, some of them just come across like they're kind of mad about it failing for different reasons. Doesn't seem like it's just the reason of, oh, it was such a great movie. It seems like, they can't handle it failing probably because it had women in it. Is that what it is? You know, that's sometimes how it comes across from some of these people. It's just that's kind of the angle they're getting at. I mean, like we see with comments like this. After all the negative comments I've seen about the Marvels today, it is cemented in my mind that the majority of people who don't like this movie simply can't handle seeing powerful women lead a project, and that's sad. So it's just, again, it's just, they come to these conclusions, it's just like, oh, right, that's why you're mad. But to say, to not even go out of your way to say, I'm not saying the majority, no, the majority of people are just sexists. The majority of people that have mothers and things like that, so sexist, just sexist, that's what it is. I mean, like, people just making all these arguments that are just, this specific one as well, because I've been working on my script for this, I've been working on a script for this film, so this is kind of whereabouts I'm at in terms of, where I've scripted to, which is, I don't know, I've got to be close to halfway through, but I'm round about the bit, I'm round about the bit in the movie where it's just 10 minutes of fucking exposition, which kind of makes it easier to get through. Because I've just got to try and figure out a way, right, how do I bring this information down a bit? How do I just cut it down so people get the gist of it? So that's whereabouts I'm at. So, like, the bit before that is where we find out that Captain Marvel, the incompetent bitch that she is, she went into Hala, the Kree planet, destroyed the AI thing that ran the place. I don't know. And then that resulted in the genocide of the Kree. That's how far they took it. So you have comments like this that, they say, the Marvels presents Captain Marvel as a flawed protagonist. Well, no, she's just a fucking idiot. That's what it is. whose idea of I can solve problems by punching them, that's because she's stupid, causes troubles for her and the people she loves, and she has to make up for her mistakes throughout the movie. And it's just like, right, so you have to understand, how do you make up for the mistake of genociding millions of people, or billions of people? I don't know how many people lived on Hala, but it's like, it's got to be, you know, upward of at least 1 billion. She's wiped all of them out. She's the reason for it. It's like, yeah, you can kind of blame stuff on, you know, there was a civil war, so that, but it's like, she's caused that. She's the whole reason behind that. And it's like, how can you come back from that? You know, it's kind of like with Star Wars. It's like, you have the original trilogy, you understand that Darth Vader, he's not a very good person, and then at the end, you know, he sort of redeems himself. But then you go to the prequels and you find out, oh, he murdered a load of children. So he's now going back to the OT, it's like, he's probably not redeemed. Because they took it a bit too far. It's the same here. It's like, you know, this would be different if, you know, say Captain Marvel, she made a mistake and resulted in like one person, a couple of people dying. Then you could go, yeah, there's some coming back from that. But when you've committed genocide, it's like, how are you gonna make up for that within one movie? It's like, I wouldn't even attempt to at that point, because it's like, she's done. She's done. But that seems to be the read that people are taking from it. It's like she basically gets away with it. It doesn't end like, yeah, she's faced some consequences for this. You know, again, it's like most things that they have in this film. They don't flesh it out. You know, you have the idea of Kamala Khan. You know, she realizes Captain Marvel isn't as perfect as she thought. They do that for one scene, and then they move on. And then they have the drama between Monica and Captain Marvel, because Captain Marvel never came back. Again, that they don't do anything with it. It's just, randomly, I'm going to say, oh, you left us, Carol, and then the very next scene, you know, everything's forgiven. I've now forgiven you for abandoning me. And then like, maybe you know, half an hour passes by, and then they bring it up again. It's like there's really no resolution at the end. There just isn't there. So it's pretty much like this. But, you know, going through all this, it's like so easy to go. You could make a good film out of some of the ideas that they have in there. But they you know, whether it's been edited out, you know, even if it has, it's like, even if it has that, it's not going to make any sense. It's still going to be like terribly done. But there clearly was more to this stuff there, and it's just been cut out. You've got the body switching. They don't like in my script. I just, you know, at the very start, I just say, you know, these are some of the things that happen, and then I move on, because it's. I think trying to keep track of the body switching, or trying to put it into a script, it's like every 5 minutes it's going to be the same criticism. So I just mentioned it pretty much at the start, or at least once they start switching, I just say, you know, these are the rules, and they break them instantly. You know, they break the rules before they even tell you what the rules are. It was just, it was a shit idea. And then even with the switching places, it's like Dar-Ben should have been switching places as well. You know, one of the reasons Ms. Marvel was hopping around with them was because she had the bangle. It's like, well, Dar-Ben had that on as well, so she should be switching about. So it's just, it's not a well thought out idea. It's one of those ideas where it's just like, oh, just leave it. Why? You know, why do we have to add this mechanic in? But yeah, it's essentially just, you know, if it's convenient to use, we use it. If it's inconvenient, we won't use it. That's kind of how they work it. But yeah, it's just, you know, as you say, it's just the plot is terrible. The characters are terrible. You know, it's just, they don't do nothing with them. It's like they could have went this route with Captain Marvel fucks up, you know, not to the point of killing loads of people, but maybe she fucks up some, and then she has to redeem herself. But they don't. Again, it gets no attention paid to it. There's just nothing. But they keep doing this thing where like they seem to think you can be redeemed after you've, whether it's in Anakin's case where he murdered a load of children. It's like you've made the OT worse because now it's like, he's not redeemed, is he? It's quite hard to be redeemed after killing loads of children, and it's the same here. It's hard to be redeemed, so it's like, I don't know why they take it that far. It's like, you could have just had, a couple people ended up dying because of her mistake. It's like, yeah, you can work with that, but when you go this far, it's it's already over. So they've basically assassinated Captain Marvel. I find that so funny that they even managed to assassinate Captain Marvel's character when it's like there was nothing there to begin with. And they still found a way. Again, it's just they don't seem to think with any logic whatsoever. So it is just, it's just fucking hilarious at this point. I would probably, this film's got to make a lot of money to break even. I mean, you are looking at the very least $1 billion. Maybe that's not enough, but that's the only way it would be considered, successful. But yeah, there's no way of getting there. So it's definitely a funny one. But I'm not sure if there was any other tweets of that, because on Twitter there's been loads sort of getting quote tweeted, but it's been quite funny to watch. Just the amount of well, this was actually another one as well. I think I've seen, because if you remember, Valkyrie just turns up. Valkyrie and Captain Marvel don't know each other. It's like they show up, they hug and all that, like they're these very close friends. It's like we've never seen them have a conversation. But apparently, like in this film, it was cut out that Valkyrie and Captain Marvel were in a relationship. And they ended up cutting it out. I mean, I don't even know why you'd add that in, because it doesn't make any sense. It's like they have had no on-screen time together, except that cringe scene in Endgame where they all just stand together. Even though that person was all the way over there, that person was all the way... They ended up in the same scene together somehow. So that's the only time they've been on screen together. So I think just to go, they're in a relationship now. It's like, what? No, they're not. So you've got things like that. There's just a lot of, things coming. How much truth there is to that, I don't know. Well, hold on. Actually, this is apparently really good news. So the Marvels makes box office history as the highest grossing theatrical release of all time by a black woman director at 110 million. I don't know how you can call that an achievement, but okay. I always find it funny that they have to go there to make it seem like there's some achievement there. It's like there's no achievement whatsoever. I just, as if we go that route for, this is the highest grossing theatrical release of all time by a man with 4 toes. It's like, it's just silly. But anything really to make it seem like a win, that's just, just loads of people coping over this film. It's just been non-stop the past few days, but yeah, it will die down. It'll die down pretty quickly, I would imagine. But yeah, I don't think there's any more sort of tweets that I came across. But it's been quite funny to watch. But yeah, we did have an article that I thought is worth going through. Because we ended up with an art. Basically, it's an interview with Nia DaCosta, and it does explains why. It's always funny. You watch these people that make these films, and then they don't understand what they've made. That they seem to think they've done stuff with it, and it's like, no, that's non-existent. I think the one I can remember from this article is the thing with Ms. Marvel. Like, Nia DaCosta seems to think she's done something that Ms. Marvel has went on an arc. And it's just like, no, you haven't. So that's kind of what we'll go through first. I think it's quite a long article. So I'll try and... I don't really want to go through the entire thing. So we kind of just go to the sorts of things that she says. Let me see whereabouts, we start off. Because they go on about Candyman, and then they go on about the first black woman. Right, okay. They go on about Kamala Harris tweeted about the Marvels. Okay. I mean, that probably would be a film for her, I guess. She's a bit of a fucking dimwit. Whereabouts are we? I'm trying to sort of see where they start off. They say she's got the vice president talking, but how does DaCosta feel about shattering so many glass ceilings? Do you know what she done? She had women in a film. That's just never been done. There's never been black women in films. Never happened. Nothing like, Foxy Brown, Jackie Brown, loads of things. Most people seeing the movie aren't going to know or care about that. For other young black women who want to be filmmakers, most of them probably don't want to direct Marvel movies, but okay. I think it's important to be an example. Again, it's just, I don't understand why you want, why she wants her experience to be an example. Why would you want people to follow in your example? You made a terrible film. That's not really empowering to whoever you're trying to empower. There's just nothing really there. So yeah, to be because they talk all this nonsense about, oh, there's so much representation in the film, and it's like, if your intention is to have, Captain Marvel, whoever represent women, that's a terrible representation of women. That makes women look terrible. That's all that does. So I just find it funny how they bring that up. It's like, yeah, but there's nothing good about that representation, is there? It's like you make people look like horrible people. It's just lucky that most people in the real world, they understand that isn't the case. They understand that no, they're just shitty writers. That's what the problem is. So they go on about, the Marvel centers on free hero, we call them heroes, but they're not really. They say it's a direct sequel to 29's Captain Marvel. The only connection it really has is, I suppose, the Supreme Intelligence. Carol, off screen, went and destroyed the Supreme Intelligence. That's really the only connection. It's not really like a direct sequel. It's a sequel, but it's not fucking direct. Because they had to throw Monica Rambeau in it, which I guess that would make more sense, but then they start throwing in Ms. Marvel and all that. So they just end up having things where it's like, it's kind of not a sequel, really. But also picks up threads from Disney Plus show WandaVision. Getting all my notes for this, like, none of the shows connect to this in any way. You got Secret Invasion. That now doesn't make any sense. That Secret Invasion was apparently before the Marvels came out, but it's not. It can't be. There's no way it fits in. Then you have WandaVision. It's like nothing comes up about WandaVision except how she got her powers. Monica Rambeau. Ms. Marvel, I guess there's a connection because of the bangle. That's like the only connection. Other than that, it doesn't really pick up threads from any of these other shows. The all-female team-up movie makes good on the promise of Avengers Endgame and its 6-second sequence in the fight against Thanos, where all the MCU's super women rally behind Captain Marvel, and it doesn't make any sense. It makes no logical sense whatsoever, because everyone was spread out. Did they all go, fuck this fight, we're going over here? So none of that doesn't make sense. So to even, I don't know, make good on the promise. Right, okay. With the Marvels, DaCosta gives fans an hour and 45 minutes of that same energy, as the trio join forces to face a new villain, also a woman. Okay. I don't even know why that matters at this point. It's like, you've got women in a film. They're all shittily written. It's like, okay, I don't know what you're telling me with that. DaCosta's pitch was punctuated by a few big ideas. She had big ideas, all right, everybody. First, she wanted to make a movie that was fun, funny, and full of heart. Right, that's not big ideas. James Gunn did that with Guardians of the Galaxy. You just imitated him in it and done it very poorly. So that's not a big idea. You made you tried and failed to make a fun film, right? We've seen those before. A funny film, seen those before. Full of heart, we've seen those before. It's like, these are all things we've seen. I don't know how you come into your pitch, right? I've got these big ideas, guys. We're going to make it fun, funny, and full of heart. They must have thought, what? It's like, yeah, we've done that. She says, what I like about Marvel films is that they have a consistent energy. Not recently, they don't. You know, a lot of the time they'll throw jokes in there where it's like, no, you don't have a joke in there. You know, don't joke while someone's dying. Maybe don't do that. But they can feel really different depending on what the vibe is or who the filmmaker is. No, I don't know how you can say that about recent Marvel. They're all the same. There's really no difference, you know, in sort of the basics of how they approach it. They're all pretty much cookie cutter, just exactly the same. So this is when we get into the cringe. She also wanted to satisfy the blurred. Apparently that means black nerd. Right, don't use that term. So she wanted to satisfy the blurred in here. So again, you'll realize, oh, she's making it about herself. You know, she's making, what would I want to see? And that's kind of the quote we're about to get to. She said, who'd grown up absorbed in comic book culture. The Brooklyn-born filmmaker was especially keen to tell Kamala's story because she was a huge fan of the Ms. Marvel comics, which debuted when she was in her teens. Usually I'm not like, I like this person because I see myself, a tri-state area nerd who loves superheroes and comic stuff and writes fan fiction. So is Kamala Khan just an insert for Nia DaCosta? Well, I already know she's an insert for the person that created her. So I guess that's, whatever. But she's a great street-level hero and heir to Spider-Man. I don't know why people make stuff up. It's like she's nowhere near Spider-Man. It's like Spider-Man is the, one of the top, up there with Batman. There's no way, no one knows who Ms. Marvel is. She's not an heir to Spider-Man. There just seems to be just this lack of self-awareness, or lack of awareness. It's like, no, nobody knows who she is. That's why nobody went to the film, because they didn't know who she was. Because she's not recognizable like Spider-Man. The director was also intrigued by the complicated dynamics between the characters, who are physically entangled due to their light-based superpowers, but also have emotional ties, which grounds the high-flying film. There's nothing grounded, about the Marvels. I mean, you've got some woman going around sucking up the atmosphere and sucking up oceans. It's very far from grounded. I guess she means sort of the emotional stuff, but there's none of that. It's all gone. There's just, right, we've got this idea for this scene, and then we forget about it. We're moving on. We're not gonna continue it and sort of, sprinkle it throughout the film. We're not gonna do anything like that. We're just gonna, say something and then move on. She says these three women are basically like sisters. No. I mean, Carol and Monica are estranged. Kamala has never met Carol or Monica, so they're not like sisters. There's no development between them. I mean, yeah, it's just there's nothing there. It just seems to be this is what you want the film to be, but not the actual film that they made. Monica is wrestling with the grief of losing her mother. I don't really... Nah. I guess when they put the scroll memory thing on, and for some reason a load of flashes from Monica's mum appear. Like that's about it. We don't see her dealing with grief. We don't see... Did they not do that in WandaVision? That was the whole point of that show, about grief. You know, I'm pretty sure at that point you've covered it. Of losing her mother and feeling like Carol abandoned them, which, you know, again, Monica is probably, she brings the least to the film. She's really boring, just adds nothing, except for, randomly, I'm going to say, you abandoned me, and then I'm going to forgive you in the next scene, and then in half an hour, I'll bring it up again, and then I'll forgive you again. There's just no constant thing there. Carol's journey is about learning that the fate of the world doesn't rest wholly on her shoulders. That's a good thing, because whenever she gets involved, it causes the genocide of loads of people. Because Carol has been on her own for so long, it was important to show what it is actually like for this woman to live a life where she thinks she's the only thing holding everything together. That just sounds like ego. You're just making her sound like an egomaniac now, which is a story that a lot of women can relate to. Isn't that? They ask her, isn't that a lot like directing? Directing is incredibly lonely, apart from being with all the actors and everything. Admits recalling that she'd once heard Miraner. Right, that's really all we need to read on that. But when she first signed on at Marvel, longtime executive Victoria Alonso, who now got chopped, she got thrown under the bus, called to let her know she wasn't going to shoulder the big budget burden alone. She was like, this is going to be like the hardest thing you've ever done. It's also going to be the most fulfilling. Have we not read? I'm pretty sure we read that quote on one of the other streams. Yeah, I think that was a quote from... I'm getting deja vu now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure... Yeah, we must have read that. That must have been a while ago, I think that quote came out. Let me just see where we are. While DaCosta found the Marvel team to be incredibly supportive, working within their machine was an exercise in learning to trust the process. You know, don't actually bring your own ideas. Early in the production, Larson, who's appearing in her 5th Marvel title, encouraged the filmmaker to brace for change, advising her not to hold on too tightly to anything. But here's what... I was like, cool, but here's what I can tell you. Yes, set pieces will change and script pages will change, but the reason why they wanted to make this movie in the first place and why I'm invested in this emotionally are these things. As the script changed and evolved, the specifics of that emotionality was always the same. Alright, I don't even know what she's saying there. What else does she say? There is an adjustment that has to be made in channeling your filmmaking through that system. They've built something that's never existed in cinema before. Alright, so that's, you know, it's just tidbits there about Marvel, I guess. I should have read through this a bit more before I started going, because now I'm just lost. Let's just try and get to the more, you know, I suppose, juicy things. Because she does go out of her way to call everyone racist. Because why not? So let me see where this... I'm pretty sure it's here. Of course, there's the slightest chance DaCosta's playing politics instead of further enraging a particularly dark corner of the internet. Well, I'd say the whole of the internet, because no one went to see it. Like other IP-based movies that star women and people of colour. Oh, you mean like we done 50 years ago? You mean that? You know, you remember Alien and Terminator? Those were IPs as well. And they had women star in them. The impending release of 2019's Captain Marvel met with such malignance malignance rather, that Rotten Tomatoes changed its policy, because Marvel called them up and asked them to bar audience reviews on unreleased titles. I mean, you know, they always bring up these reviews. It's like, yeah, it was a bad film. I don't know why people can't just fucking face that. In 2022, Ms. Marvel faced the same level of internet hate. Not really. No one watched it. So I don't know how that got loads of internet hate. And now any post about the Marvels is flooded with comments criticising Disney for going woke and rooting for the film to flop. I mean, that's, you know, that's not even really my... It's just shit. You know, that's... That's really a bigger problem than it's just shit. You know, you could probably have some of this stuff in there, but it's like they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do it, and it's like they don't know how to do it in a way where they get the audience to go, right, well, I don't agree with that, but, you know, aside from that, it's well made. You know, they don't, there's just none of that either. They're just really shit films. It's what, you know, it's not really stuff I'm going to bring up in my review because, you know, I'm focusing more on the writing. But it's like, well, of course people are rooting for the film to flop because it's not very good. It's like if films like this are successes, that just means they're going to make more of them, and they're not going to recognize the problem. So they're just going to keep pumping out the same types of films. DaCosta is familiar with the negative side of fandom. After all, she's been a big old fan of nerdy shit for a long time. You know, I always wonder when they say this stuff, like, are they really? That's always some, but you know, who knows? But she's not letting it get under her skin. She says there are pockets where you go because you're like, you know, again, I don't know why they're calling it pockets. It's like everybody's gone. I don't know how you can call that a pocket of people. It's like everybody's shitting on this film. There are pockets where you go because you're like, I'm a super fan. I want to exist in the space of just adoration. Which includes civilized critique, but any civilized critique is still considered racist and sexist because you're dealing with people that don't know how to take criticism. You know, they can't handle it. Then there are pockets that are really virulent and violent and racist and sexist and homophobic. This is a person that had a hand in writing the Marvels, and she can't even fucking say a sentence. You know, rather than saying violent, racist, sexist, and homophobic, she goes violent and racist and sexist and homophobic. It's like you can't even string a fucking sentence together. And all those awful things, I have to disagree with that. It's like, you know, whenever they say this stuff, it's like, yeah, maybe there's a couple, but the majority of people, I haven't seen people saying, this is a, you know, really terrible film because, you know, there's gay people in it, or there's women in it. It's like, I don't really see that. You know, I see people making jokes like that. It's like, you're going to get that aspect of it. But if you're actually saying, oh, there's just people being sexist, it's like, well, I ain't seen any of that. You know, all the other coverage I've seen of the Marvels, I haven't seen anyone say, oh, it's bad because, you know, it's got a black woman in it, and it's got a woman in it, and it's got, well, it hasn't got gay people in it, so I don't really know where they're getting that from. But yeah, it's like you, the only way you can come to this conclusion is if you just interpret jokes as, oh, that means that they don't like it because they're racist. You know, that's what it is. Even though you're talking about people that, you know, love, say, Blade, or it's like, that's the kind of people you're calling sexist and things like that. It's like you're calling people that are fans of things that have that in them. So it's like, it doesn't make any sense. You know, the main criticism when it comes to this, you know, how they bring that, it's like people are criticizing you because you're focusing on, you know, whether it's your representation or that's where the criticism comes from. Not simply that it is diverse or whatever like that. It's more of that's what they're focusing on. And it's like other aspects of making a film are then being downgraded or being put further down the totem pole to put something up there that shouldn't be up the top of it. It should be like, you know, it shouldn't even be there. Shouldn't even really be a thought. It should just be, oh yeah, it ended up diverse. You know, who would have thought it? But it's like they go out of their way for this stuff, and everything else gets put to one side. So it's like that's what the criticism is. But you know, even with that stuff aside, it's like they're just not talented. So that's why that stuff, at least now, doesn't really, you know, that's not really up there with, you know, I don't call the film bad for that. It's more of, you know, how bad is the writing? That's really what it is. So it's like even if you do get rid of that, you know, that side of things, it's like it's just shit. You know, really, that's what it is. So she says, I choose the side of the light. That's part of the fandom I'm most attracted to. So you basically just mean, oh, what, people that don't think about anything. You know, people that won't give any pushback. You know, people that would just go along with it going, yeah, it's great, it's great. I mean, like, they always preface it with it, you know, I'm all for civilized critique. But it's just, you know, they're included, they're gonna, you know, blanket everyone with the statement of they're racist. So even if you go to them being civilized and criticize their film, they're still going to go out of their way to go, you don't like black people, do you? That's what it is. That's why you don't like this film. I don't think I don't think they have much else after that. We're kind of at the end of the article. But I guess it gives you some insight into, but again, it's you know, when are they going to give that up? It's like, stop calling everybody racist because they shat all over your film. It's just like, you know, none of these things hold up. If you actually have common sense, the idea that people are racist or say it doesn't hold up, because it's like you're talking about people that are fans of other things that have it in there. You know, the reason why they have a problem with the way it's done now is because that is where the attention is. And we just end up with something bad. You know, regardless of what message it's trying to get across. But what else do we? Because I don't know. We did have something else from What's Her Face. You know, the stupid villain in there, but you know, I'm not. Yeah, we'll leave that one. But yeah, I think that's most of the stuff we've got on the Marvels, and we've spent almost 50 minutes on it. These streams always go really quick, because I haven't fucking shut up for really long now. You know, I suppose we'll get some of the Marvel stuff out of the way. Well, Sony's Marvel as well. But yeah, we might look at the. So that's where the Marvels is sitting now, 161 million. It's now been, well, it's been over a week now, and almost not far off 2 weeks, and that's kind of where it's at. So it's, you know, it's already dead. You look at the sort of domestic box office, it's like it's just fallen. You know, the entire weekend, 68%, a 68% drop. So not very good at all. But yeah, we did have this as well that, you know, well, we did mention it at the start that apparently they're going to cast Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. I don't know how much truth there is to it. It still isn't confirmed. There's nothing confirmed about it. I've seen other things where they said, "Oh no, he's the villain." So it's like I don't really know what's happening. But that was something that came out last week. So you know, you either had people that, I suppose most people ranged from how they felt about it. You know, I don't really care about the casting anymore. It's just like, it's going to be shit anyway. So it doesn't even matter if they get the casting right. It's like they got the casting right when you had John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, and then they fucked that up. They completely threw that away by making him an idiot. So it's just like that's. So even if they were to bring someone back where it's like, yeah, that's a great actor for that role, it's like, oh, it doesn't matter though, does it? It doesn't actually matter, because they're not going to be given good material. But yeah, some people weren't happy about it. Some people were fine with you know. I don't necessarily care. You know, I think Pedro Pascal is. I like him as an actor. I think as a person, he's a prick. But I think he's a good actor. You know, he's got some acting chops there. And I'm like, see, I don't even know why he'd want to do this. Because I know for a fact, based on, you know, he wants to get the fuck out of The Mandalorian. Like, you're going to regret this. You know, if you're to play because you're not going to be given anything. You know, that's part of the reason why I think he doesn't care about Mandalorian, is because he's not given anything to work with. You know, he's not a character. He's just some bland guy. Like he's like Mando is given nothing there. There's no meat on the bone. There's nothing to sink your teeth into. Where it's like with actors, they want a challenge. So it's like you're just Pedro Pascal will just end up the same situation here. He's not going to be pushed to a certain limit. Yeah, so I think he'd probably regret it if he does. It's probably going to end up being something. Fuck, I want to get out of this now. Because I think that's the reason why he wants out of the Mandalorian. You know, he goes from Mando to The Last of Us, where he's actually, you know, he's got more of a challenge there. You know, he's got to pull more things off. Whereas, you know, with what I would expect out of Fantastic Four, there's going to be none of that. None of that at all. So, you know, how much truth there is to it. You know, I guess the only truth you can take from it is that maybe he's floated the idea. Maybe he's went, yeah, maybe I'll do it. But it doesn't seem like there's going to be any confirmation on it. But yeah, you know, I don't really... You know, kind of looking at him, I'm like, he probably doesn't fit right. But again, it's just like, I come back to the thing where I'm like, but the script's going to be bad. So it's like, why does it matter at this point? But it's a stupid idea from Marvel anyway. It's like, why do you want to get someone that is going to cost you millions? It's like they keep doing this to themselves. They keep going, right, we've got to get the top actors. It's like, yeah, but those actors want loads of... They want like 20, 40 million. It's like, that's part of the reason why some of their budgets are so fucking high. It's because they keep paying actors that they can't afford. So it's like, why don't you want to get someone that's a bit, you know, an up-and-comer? Why don't you want to get someone like that so then you can save money? Why do you want to go, oh no, we'll get the actor that's going to charge us 40 million to do it? So it's like, why? But they don't seem to learn from that aspect either. It's just like, just stop getting big stars. You know, they're going to cost you more money, increasing the budget, and then you're not going to make that money back. You know, based on the track record they've now set. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I'm kind of at that point where, yeah, I don't really care. I don't care who they cast at this point, because it's not going to make any difference. You know, you know, again, like we say with the actors the actors aren't the problem in most cases. I think with Brie Larson, really that comes down to the director is doing a shit job. The director is not pushing her. Where it's like, I've seen Room with Brie Larson in it. She can act. She knows how to act. It's like she's in a film, you know, about being, you know, kidnapped. It's like she's convincing. So it's like, it's so obvious that with Marvel, whether it's Captain Marvel or the Marvels, the directors are just shit. They don't know how to push the actors to actually give a performance. So it's probably end up the same way with Pedro Pascal if he was to play Mr. Fantastic. It's like, they're not going to push him. So it's just, there's going to be no passion there whatsoever. But yeah, it really does show how shit the directors are as well. It's like, Nia DaCosta must be a fucking shit director. If she just can't get someone that I've seen act to act. I guess the same goes for the first Captain Marvel film. It's just, you have directors that they don't know how to direct. They don't know how to go, right, let's do it again, Brie. You know, I want you to have this, and this. I don't think they do that. I just think they go, here's the script, read that line, and then we can move on to the next scene. I think that's how they run it there. Because they are just not... It's so obvious, especially with Brie Larson. Because I think out of all the people that have been in Marvel, she's probably the worst acted. And it's, again, she can act. I've seen her. I've seen her do it. But yeah, so that just really tells you a lot as well, just on the directing side of things. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with Pedro. But yeah, I just don't care anymore, really. You know, about casting, I'm not really as interested in go, oh yeah, but they got to cast this guy. This would be the perfect cast. And I'm just like, yeah, but don't, you know, why would I wish that upon someone? But yeah, so that was something that came out about that. I suppose since we're still on the subject of Marvel, we might as well bring up the Madam Web. So Sony releasing the trailer for that. Already just on Madam Web official trailer. I'm like, yeah, I don't fucking give a shit. I just get tired of let's water down Spider-Man. Let's have Madam Web and Miles Morales and fucking I don't all the other Spider-Gwen. Let's have all this. I'm already against that idea. It's like, just give me Spider-Man. I'll happily take some Spider-Man films. I'm not interested in, Madam Web. Never even heard of her until we originally got the news they were doing this. I suppose you can understand why Sony are doing it, because they haven't got much. They haven't got much to work with. So it's like understandable why they would do it. But it's like, if you're going to do something like Madam Web, it's like, you need to do something fucking really good. Because it's not gonna get any attention whatsoever. How's it going, Justin? But yeah, that's probably the reason they're doing it. But it's just like, it looks awful. It's like, even just based on the dialogue that's in the trailer, it's like, yeah, this is going to be a train wreck. I'll see if I can actually find, because I have got the trailer up somewhere. Yeah, I've got the trailer up here. I need to try and find the. I don't understand why Madam Web just straight away. I'm done. I don't care about Madam Web. It's quite good to see that most people are like reacting to it that way. But basically the trailer, if I can just bring it up here. The trailer, it basically tells you the entire film. So like, they've already spoiled it anyway. It's like, oh right, so I know what happens in this film. I don't need to see it because the trailer is 3 minutes long. I don't know why they've given everything away. But it's gonna be shit. I think that's pretty much obvious. But yeah, I'll try and break up because I want to try and find the bit. There's a specific part of dialogue. Let me just see. Let me try and turn my speakers down first. Yeah. So this is it. I'm pretty sure you can hear it because I think one of the last streams when we went over the Marvels trailer, nobody could hear the audio. So I'm hoping that's turned up enough so you can hear it. I mean, you should hear it. But yeah, so it's this bit. Just listen to this line.
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
That's such a terrible line. Let's actually bring up the closed captions for that. Let me see. He was in the Amazon with my mum when she was researching spiders right before she died. That's such terrible exposition right there. So yeah, that's like the line that everybody's been taking the piss out of because that's embarrassing. That makes it obvious that it's going to be a train wreck. If they find it hard even to for the ability just to write dialogue, it's like you have that in there. It's like, oh, this film's going to be fucking terrible. But yeah, that was sort of just everyone was making fun of that specific line. But we might as well. I don't really want to play the whole thing because Sony, Sony start trying to, copyright claim. But yeah, so basically the trailer. I'll see if we can find any specific things. I don't know what it's starting, but apparently it's this. I don't know who this guy is. If we can get a look at her. But they're clearly going for, it's a comedy and me mum died and stuff like that. And it's like all this group, apparently, they dress up as spider people as well. I don't really get it, but that's what they do. Apparently, Madam Web can see the future. It's bullshit like that. That's not going to make any sense either. I don't know why Sony would even bother. It's like, just don't do it. Just it's like you still own Spider-Man. Just do that. Just worry about Spider-Man. It's just like all this does is water it down. Although I would probably say it doesn't water it down because nobody's going to go and see this film. I'm probably going to watch it because I reckon it would be pretty funny to review. So yeah, so it's, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know, no idea. What is it called? Ezekiel? It was something like that. But you do have a shot of them sort of jumping about, but it seems to be like all of them. Yeah, there should be you can sort of see them swinging about. But yeah, it looks like a superhero film from the 90s, maybe. Even though some of those were good. So that's kind of what Madam Web looks like. But yeah, I don't know why they'd bother. It's already obvious it's gonna flop. I'm pretty sure. Although I will have a look. I do wonder what the actual budget is for the film. I don't think it will be that much. Maybe 100 million. Do they have the? No, they don't seem to have the budget on here. I'm just going to see if I can actually find it. Because I would probably guess it's about 100 million. But it could be, it could be a bit more than that. 75 million production budget, it says. Is that? Yeah. Or I'm not sure if they're talking about Morbius here. Let me just see where it says. Let me just bring that up. Where are we going? Yeah, so we do have an article here, but I don't know if it actually brings up the specific budget. But I would guess based on, how it seems, like the majority of it seems like there's not much CGI. So I would assume it would cost a lot less. I mean, it's basically Sydney Sweeney running about in jeans for what that seems like what it's like for the majority of the film. So yeah, I think so. Yeah, Morbius was 75 million. So I would assume it's sort of there, around about 75 million to 100 million, something like that. But yeah, that's even with that, it's like it's probably gonna flop like Morbius. I just, I don't think Sony realized that, the people that want to, the only people that are really gonna turn up for sort of their superhero films is going to be, Spider-Man. Although I suppose I still haven't seen Venom. I haven't got any interest. I haven't really heard good things about Venom. I've heard the first one's okay, and then it just gradually gets a bit worse. So I'll probably watch it at some point, but I've had no interest in seeing Venom. It's like the only thing I'm really interested in, it's like, they're doing all the other villains. They're doing Kraven the Hunter. I'm pretty sure that's out early next, like February. So Sony are taking over. They're basically, they're providing all the Marvel films for the year. Because the only Disney Marvel we're getting is Deadpool 3. And then with Sony, I'm pretty sure it's at least 3. It's like Madam Web, Kraven the Hunter, and I'm pretty sure there's another one, but I'm just blanking on it. So I think they're sort of putting out more Marvel films that probably aren't going to get watched. Kraven is August, right? I was pretty sure it must have been at some point February then. Let me actually see what Sony. Yeah, because I'm not sure what. Yeah, Sony's Spider-Man thing. So yeah, they've done the 2 Venom films and Morbius. And they've got, Madam Web, Kraven the Hunter. Yeah, so Madam Web is February, Kraven the Hunter August. And then Venom, Let There Be Carnage sequel. Apparently that's coming out next year. I doubt it. It says it's coming out in November. So I highly doubt that will be coming out. So it seems like we're getting 2 Sony films. But even with Kraven the Hunter, it's like they've already fucked that up. They've made it so he's in love with the wild, rather than, no, he's just some fucking hunter. He's a hunter that then eventually goes, I'm going to hunt Spider-Man because that's a challenge. They went the route of, no, he protects the jungle. It's like, that's just boring. So they've went and done that. So Kraven the Hunter, again, I'll be watching it, but I don't expect much out of it. And I see it as a waste. It really is a waste of potential. When they could, they could do it with what's his name? With blanking on his name now. Why? With Tom. I don't know. It is fucking Tom, innit? I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. I don't know why they wouldn't do that for a Spider-Man film. It's like that would be a great idea for a film. You got Spider-Man dealing with this fucking mental hunter that is trying to hunt him down. There's lots of fucking really interesting things there. And they're just like, nah, put him in a film and make him a hero rather than a villain. No, not Tom Hardy. Fucking Tom. Why am I forgetting his name? Let me just see. Tom Holland. I always get shit with names. It just disappears. I'm like, who the fuck? Tom who? I don't know why they wouldn't do that with Tom Holland. I don't know why you'd give Kraven the Hunter his own film. It's like, save that for a rainy day. Save that for, a Spider-Man film. Because I wouldn't mind seeing that, like, Spider-Man being hunted through New York. That would be quite interesting. But they're just like, nah, make him, an anti-hero. Rather than just, nah, he hunts people. He's a hunter. Which I don't even know how you make that make sense, because it's like, right, so you've got this guy that's a hunter, but he also loves the animals. So how is he called Kraven the Hunter then? Aside from, well, the only thing that I think they're doing, he hunts down, some Russian mafia. So I guess that's the hunting part. But yeah, so that's the other thing they have coming aside from Madam Web. But yeah, it's like it's just missed opportunities. Especially with Kraven the Hunter. But yeah, Kraven the Hunter is now this vegan. He loves the animals. He protects the animals. Rather than I go out and I kill fucking lions and I put them on my wall. We got to dial it back. I suppose the only thing they've got it seems to be violent. It seems to be a bit more violent than the other ones they've done. But maybe they're just trying to go with the Joker. They're trying to sort of corner that market. So that's why they're doing films on someone like Kraven the Hunter. That would be my guess on that. But yeah, it's probably not going to be any good. Just be a couple of messes of films. But yeah, even that costume there, that doesn't look good. I don't know why they went for that. It's like, it's 2023. Why have you made her look like that? It's like, I can see who she is now. So yeah, the costumes don't look good. They're just nothing there really that I'm interested in, other than, I suppose seeing what you can kind of get out of it. Because it may be sort of funny bad. But who knows? But yeah, I suppose we're kind of at the end. The only other thing I was going to go over was quickly this. Taika Waititi says his Star Wars film is going to piss people off. He doesn't get it, this guy, does he? He doesn't get it at all. But I'm not really surprised. That seems to be what he gets kicks out of. I just want to piss people off. Like I did with Thor: Love and Thunder, but he's done now, isn't he? I'm pretty sure even his new film, that's tanked. That's flopped. I think with what he done with Thor: Love and Thunder, that's kind of tanked his career, or at least how people view him. He may have done like Jojo Rabbit, which I still haven't seen yet. But as soon as he done this film, it's like, yeah, nobody wants to see a film from you anymore. And especially when this is sort of the attitude he has. The media were trying to play it as, oh, and then the director Taika Waititi joked that he was going to piss people off. I don't think that's a joke. I think he actually means it. Because that just, he seems to get kicks out of that, going, let's just piss everyone off. So I wouldn't be surprised with that, but that's if his Star Wars film happens, which I highly doubt. I don't see it happening. I haven't really heard anything about it, really. They did have it in their sort of, their slate, but I haven't heard anything about it, so I highly expect that it won't happen. And I suppose that brings us to the sort of ends. I think we've covered plenty. Spent the majority on the Marvels, so that was fun. And now I'm pretty much back to just scripting for the Marvels, because I think now I think I'm at like 5,000 words, I want to say, because I managed to get a lot done over the weekend. But I'm trying to see sort of where I am at, because I'm almost halfway through. I was good because I wanted to try and get it done at the weekend. I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna sit for hours on end and try and get this thing done as quickly as possible, just so then, like today, I could record it. But that ended up not working out, so I'm just kind of going hard at it this week, so then I can start getting it recorded by Monday. Trying to get it done as quickly as I can, so I end up not losing interest in it. But yeah, I'm trying to keep it. I'm trying to keep it under an hour. I don't really want the video to be over an hour, because I'm taking into account how long it takes to edit. Which I mean, if you've got like an hour video, that's going to take at least constant. If you're working constantly, like a week to fully edit. So that can take a while. So I'm just trying to really like cut it down. So that's why I've been trying to get through things very fucking efficiently, because I'm like, I don't want to spend long with the Marvels. I actually, well, because I've gotten so far now, it's a bit more enjoyable doing. Whereas when I first started it, I was like, doing the script for The Flash was better than fucking this. A lot of that was because the Flash is at least straightforward in its shitness, whereas the Marvels, it is just so convoluted. Just the amount of things you have to go, I've got to think about that a bit. So I'm pretty much back to that later on. I'm just trying to smash through it. But yeah, I'll finish off there anyway. We'll probably be back for another one of these next week. I don't know what else I've got on. I don't know if I'm going to have videos coming out or what. At least on this channel, we will have to wait and see. I've got to get something going at some point, because I'm just bleeding subscribers. I think a lot of people have probably thought I'm dead. Because they're just... Well, it's been like... What has it been now? About 5 weeks since I uploaded anything. Let me see. Yeah, a month ago. So it's been a while, so we do really need to get back to it. But it's just, yeah, it ends up being trying to find the time. Because I've been, doing sort of, real work fucking a lot more recently. So I've ended up fucking knackered all the time. And then I just find it hard to get back into it. But we shall see, I guess. But I will finish off there, and I'll see you next week. Probably be Monday. I'm trying to keep it on Monday. But yes, I guess I will see you on that one.